Good evening. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Manistee County's virtual presentation of What is on Your Ballot, November 8th, 2022 edition. I am Miriam Epskamp. I am a League volunteer and the tech host for this presentation. We are broadcasting live on Facebook. And if you are watching in our Zoom room, you will have noticed that your mic and your camera has been disabled. This is so you don't disturb the presentation as it's going on and so you don't accidentally become a Facebook star. If you have questions at any time during the presentation, you can use the chat function in Zoom and type them out so we can see them. We will try our best to answer as many questions as possible. If you're watching this video on Facebook, you can put your questions in the comment section of this video, and we will try to get to those too. So now, without any further ado, I will pass it over to Nancy Baring, the president of the League of Women Voters of Manistee County, to get us started.
Hey, thank you, Miriam. Welcome everyone to this brief overview of the 3 statewide ballot proposals on the November 8th ballot. And because there is a heightened interest in election security these days, we will also briefly cover Michigan election laws. League member Mary Fairgrieve is here as well and will lead us through this helpful information. Mary?
Hello, I'm Mary Fairgrieve. I'm a member of the Manistee County League of Women Voters, and thanks for joining us this evening.
This presentation is brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Michigan's Education Fund that works to provide voters with election information through our online resource, vote411.org, our printed voter guides, candidate forums, and debates. As I hope you all know, the League never supports or opposes any candidate or any political party, but we do advocate for issues which we have studied and reached consensus on. But again, tonight, this program is an educational presentation. We are presenting to the best of our ability both sides of the issues.
Okay, what is on the ballot, Nancy?
Well, in addition to the 3 ballot proposals, there are a lot of statewide offices on the ballot. These are U.S. House of Representative, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, Supreme Court, University Boards, State Senator, State Representative, and
what else is on the ballot?
many communities will have local offices as well, and probably local proposals on the ballot. And of course, you can find out exactly what's on your ballot by going to vote411.org and typing in your address.
There are 3 statewide ballot proposals. We are fortunate in Michigan to have a constitution that gives 2 powers to voters that are not in all state constitutions. Just 24 states have these options. The first power is called the legislative initiative, which gives voters the right, if certain conditions are met, to initiate legislation or laws. And the second power is to amend the Michigan Constitution. The 3 Michigan proposals on the ballot are all amendments to the state's constitution. Nothing in the Constitution may be altered without the approval of voters. Any action by the legislature to amend the Constitution must be placed on the ballot. The 3 statewide ballot proposals are transparency and term limits, promote the vote 2022, and reproductive freedom for all. Please note, if any of these pass, they go into effect 45 days after approved by the voters.
Okay, we'll start with transparency and term limits. This was not a petition drive by the voters, but was placed on the ballot by a 2/3 vote of the Michigan legislature. Therefore, no signatures were required. Here's what this proposed constitutional amendment would do. It would require members of the legislature, the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and attorney general to file annual public financial disclosure reports after 2023. And this would include assets, liabilities, income sources, future employment agreements, gifts, travel reimbursements, and positions held in organizations, except the religious, social, and political organizations. It would also require the legislature to implement, but not limit or restrict, these reporting requirements. It would also replace the current term limits for state representatives and state senators with a 12-year total limit in any combination between House and Senate, except for a person elected to the Senate this year in 2022, who may be elected the number of times allowed when that person became a candidate. Should this proposal be adopted? Yes or no? The entire wording for this constitutional amendment is available at the State Board of Canvassers website or transparencyandtermlimits.com.
Sounds like we need to understand why we need this amendment. First, Michigan's legislature has failed to pass any legislation regarding financial transparency for elected officials. Secondly, Michigan's current legislative term limits permit 3 two-year terms in the House of Representatives, or a total of 6 years, and 2 four-year terms in the Senate for 8 years, for a total of 14 years by the same elected legislator. Michigan has had term limits since the 1992 vote, so that's 30 years we've had these. In the 90s, many states adopted term limits for state offices. Federal offices were not included because it would have been an amendment to the US Constitution. 15 states have term limits now. Michigan is one of 5 states with lifetime limits. The other 10 have limits on consecutive serving. So supporters say that Michigan and Idaho are the only 2 states in this country that do not require personal financial disclosure by their state elected officials. This is a major reason that the Center for Public Integrity ranks the state of Michigan as 50th in the state in transparency. The Michigan legislature has discussed various bills to require elected officials to report their finances, but none have passed. Disclosures, if passed, beginning in 2024, elected state legislative and state executive officials must file annual financial disclosure reports of their income, assets, liabilities, gifts from lobbyists, positions held in certain organizations, and agreements on future employment. The Secretary of State is whom these annual financial disclosure reports would go to. Term limits. After 2022, persons could not be elected to terms in the House of Representatives or the Michigan Senate for terms that total more than 12 years. A person could therefore serve 12 years in the Senate, 3 four-year terms, or 12 years in the House, 6 two-year terms, or any combination of terms that does not exceed 12 years. A 12-year lifetime limit would keep the benefits of term limits, but would also allow House members to focus on the serious work of legislation in the chamber where they were elected. Gone would be the pressure to immediately start seeking out their next position.
Okay, some supporters, now this is just a list of some of the supporters, more are on the website, but you can see the League of Women Voters of Michigan, Michigan Chamber of Commerce, Michigan Education Association, Michigan Farm Bureau, the Sierra Club. So if you want it for a complete list, go to the website. Now, opponents say that critics of this proposal have attacked the rapid vote that state lawmakers cast in May to place this measure on the November 8th ballot, calling it an ambush. They have argued that the proposal is drafted by politicians and lobbyists who make money off their connection to government. And some people oppose term limits completely and would rather see them eliminated. Opponents include Term Limits Defense Fund and U.S. term limits.
So that is proposal 1 on the ballot in Michigan. The second proposal is Promote the Vote, a voter-initiated ballot proposal. It obtained almost 670,000 signatures to place it on our ballot. Proposal 22-2 reads, a proposal to amend the state constitution to add provisions regarding elections. The proposed amendment would recognize fundamental right to vote without harassing conduct, require military or overseas ballots to be counted if postmarked by election day, the right to verify your identity with a photo ID or signed statement, provide voters the right to a single application to vote absentee in all elections, require state-funded absentee ballot drop boxes and postage for absentee applications and ballots, provide that only election officials may conduct post-election audits, require 9 days of early in-person voting, allow donations to fund elections which must be disclosed, and require canvass boards to certify election results based only on the official records of votes cast. Should this proposal be adopted, yes or no? The entire wording for the constitutional amendment is available at the State Board of Canvassers website or Promote the Vote 2022's website. Michigan voters passed a Promote the Vote constitutional amendment in 2018. Michigan has laws to regulate voting that the legislators may change. If our voting rights are in the Michigan Constitution going forward, they cannot be changed without a vote of the people. Passing Promote the Vote 2022 will ensure that every voice is heard and every voice is counted in every election, no matter what political party or candidate you support, where you live, or what you look like.
Voting is critical to the integrity of our democracy, which is why our fundamental voting rights should be respected and protected in Michigan's Constitution. Promote the Vote 2022 would recognize the fundamental vote without harassing conduct.
Promote the Vote 2022 will enhance election integrity and increase election security by modernizing how elections are administered to ensure every vote counts.
By voting yes, you can ensure our elections are fair, accurate, and secure, and that election results are determined based on the votes of Michigan citizens whose identity is verified prior to counting their vote, whether they are voting in person or by mail. Promote the Vote 2022 provides voters the right to verify their identity with a photo ID or a signed statement, the same as today, but it would be enshrined in the Constitution.
Promote the Vote 2022 will make voting more convenient and accessible for all Michiganders of all backgrounds.
Promote the Vote 2022 would require that military or overseas ballots would be counted if postmarked by election day. Promote the Vote 2022 provides voters the right to a single application to vote absentee in all elections.
Some supporters include the ACLU, Common Cause, Gray Panthers, Voters Not Politicians, and the League of Women Voters of Michigan.
Opponents claim the measure would open the door to abuse. Opponents have been opposed to wide expansions of absentee voting because of security and cost concerns. Some opponents include Defend Your Ballot, Unborn Equity and Voting Integrity, Secure My Vote, and Stand Up Michigan.
The third proposal on your ballot will be reproductive freedom for all. Proposal 22-3 turned in over 735,000 signatures, and it needed only 425,000. It reads, a proposal to amend the state constitution to establish new individual right to reproductive freedom, including the right to make all decisions about pregnancy and abortion, allow the state to regulate abortion in some cases, and forbid prosecution of individuals exercising established right. Proposed amendment would establish new individual right to reproductive freedom, including right to make and carry out all decisions about pregnancy, such as prenatal care, childbirth, postpartum care, contraception, sterilization, abortion, miscarriage management, and infertility. Allow the state to regulate abortion after fetal viability, but not prohibit if medically needed to protect a patient's life or physical or mental health. Forbid straight discrimination and enforcement of this right. Prohibit prosecution of an individual or a person helping a pregnant individual for exercising rights established by this amendment. Invalidate state laws conflicting with this amendment. Should this proposal be adopted? Yes or no? The entire wording for the constitutional amendment is available at the State Board of Canvassers website or Reproductive Freedom from All websites.
On June 24th, 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the landmark Roe versus Wade decision in a 6-3 vote. Almost half a century ago, the Roe v. Wade ruling was the basis for establishing a constitutional right to abortion in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. The ruling means that states must decide what the law will be regulating abortion. In Michigan, we have a 1931 law that bans abortions, but the courts have issued an injunction on that law, so abortions with certain restrictions are still allowed at this point. In 2020, 18% of all pregnancies in Michigan resulted in abortion and 15% in a miscarriage. Those under 18 accounted for 2% of all abortions in Michigan.
Why is this measure needed? Important medical decisions should be guided by a patient's health and well-being, not by a politician's beliefs. But for far too long, politicians across the country have been fighting to restrict reproductive health care, and now they're gaining ground. Now that the U.S. Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, a 1931 Michigan law could go back into effect that would make abortion illegal and threaten doctors with prison for up to 15 years for providing an abortion. In addition to ensuring access to a broad range of reproductive health care, this amendment would make sure that no one goes to prison for providing safe medical care. When people are able to make decisions about their own reproductive health care, including whether and when to have children, they have more control over their health and their economic security. Specifically, this measure will ensure that all Michiganders have the right to safe and respectful care during birthing. Everyone has the right to use temporary or permanent birth control. Everyone has the right to continue or end a pregnancy pre-viability, and no one can be punished for having a miscarriage, a stillbirth, or abortion.
Some supporters include, now this is also not a complete list, the American Civil Liberties Union of Michigan, American Association of University Women, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Center for Reproductive Rights, League of Women Voters of Michigan, the Michigan Nurses Association, Michigan My Voices, National Council of Jewish Women, and Planned Parenthood Advocates of Michigan.
We will pause now. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. The opponents say that the 1931 Michigan law that bans abortion except to save the life of the mother and makes it a felony to perform abortions should continue to be the law. This amendment would repeal dozens of state laws, including our state's ban on tax-funded abortions, the partial birth abortion ban, and fundamentally alter the parent-child relationship by preventing parents from having input on their children's health. Some opponents include the Citizens to Support Michigan Women and Children, Alliance for Life in West Michigan, the American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Michigan Catholic Conference, Michigan Knights of Columbus, Right to Life of Michigan, and others.
Okay, now we'll pause and see if Miriam has any questions in the chat.
There are not any questions in the chat at this point.
Okay. We'll move forward now. Now we'll switch to the second part of this presentation and talk about the election process in Michigan. We'll focus on three key factors: registering to vote, absentee voting, and certification of the election. So registering to vote, we have two options. Right now, we are not able to utilize the 15th day before the election because we're short of that. But if it had been before the election, prior to 15 days before, our options would have been to register by mail, to go in person to the Secretary of State, the city or township or county clerk's office, or the voter registration agencies, as well as voter online registration and other online registration, and then voter registration drives in person. Then what you can do now, since we are within the 2-week period before the election, is you can go to your city or township clerk's office or a satellite office with your proof of residency, and you can register to vote. Now, absentee voting, this is how this will work. You visit your township or clerk's office in person. You submit a completed application in person. The absentee ballot can be provided to you in person. You can vote the absentee ballot in person, or you can take the absentee ballot home and vote it at home and then drop it off or mail it back. Your other option is to submit a completed application for an absentee ballot by mail. The absentee ballot can be provided by mail. Then you vote the absentee ballot, and then you mail the absentee ballot back or drop it off. Voters must sign the ballot envelope with their official signature in order for the ballot to count. This is very important if you're absentee voting. Make sure you sign that back of the envelope. Ballots can be received up until 8 p.m. on election day.
Okay, why vote absentee? Many of us have enjoyed this service, actually. There are no lines to wait for, and in big cities, that's really an issue. Some people wait for hours in lines, not so much in Manistee County, but that it is a real boon for people in big cities. Busy people can vote when it's convenient. They don't have to wait till the day or a couple days before or after the election. You don't need a ride, and there's time to study the choices. A lot of people like to sit down with the ballot and go over the election information, perhaps from the League of Women Voters, and just do it when they can really concentrate and at their leisure.
Once the election is over, the County Board of Canvassers is charged with certifying the election. Who are these county board members? There are 4 members, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans with staggered 4-year terms on the Board of Canvassers. They are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners from names supplied by the 2 parties. What do these Board of Canvassers do? Within 14 days of the election, they meet to review the election paperwork from precincts, to certify the election results in the county with majority vote to certify. Then they send the election certification report to the State Board of Canvassers. Are these meetings open to the public? They are open to the public, but only to observe. They cannot participate. Trained league members do observe the meetings and report any irregularities.
Okay, the State Board of Canvassers is set up the same way, with 4 members, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans with staggered 4-year terms. They're appointed, however, by the governor from names provided by the 2 parties. Their duties are that within 6 weeks of the election, they must meet to review the election certification reports from the counties. They certify election results by a majority vote, which means that at least 3 out of the 4 would vote to certify that election.
To sum up, we've covered 3 statewide proposals that will be on the ballot in November. We also talked about how to register to vote in Michigan, how absentee voting works in Michigan, and how elections get certified at the county and state levels. Now, here are a few of the sites we referred to during this presentation.
Okay, one last thing before we take questions. Before you cast your ballot, we encourage you to check the League's online voter guide, which, as I've said, is vote411.org. By entering your voting address and your zip code, you'll be able to learn about the candidates and the issues in your district. The State League also provides printed voter guides with information about the candidates running for state offices. Hopefully you've seen these around Manistee County in libraries, post offices, restaurants, government offices, etc. Our league has delivered 2,000 of them. Okay, are there any questions from the viewers in chat?
We do have a couple of questions. The first one is about Proposal 3, Reproductive Freedom for All. And it is a question about how do you define pre-viability of a fetus?
Great, I can take that. According to the petition, fetal viability means the point in pregnancy when, in the professional judgment of an attending healthcare professional, and based on the particular facts of the case, there is a significant likelihood of the fetus's sustained survival outside the uterus without the application of extraordinary medical measures.
Our next question has to do with the signature that you put on your the outside of your envelope when you're mailing that absentee ballot. What are they comparing that signature to on the absentee ballot? I know that my signature has changed over the years.
I could take that one. The county clerks get pretty comfortable recognizing your signature over time. They will compare it to various forms that are available on the Secretary of State's website, because we sign a lot more things than we even realize. When you get your driver's license, any number of times you're submitting your signature. So they have a good way to compare that. And many of the clerks have said, if in doubt, we call you up and we talk to you and we check it out. So we don't have to worry if it's changed very much over time.
We'll give it a few more seconds. I'll check on Facebook if we have any questions. I don't see any questions in the comment section of Facebook, but if you're listening right now and you want to put something in the comments, now is the time to do it. And we will, I'm checking the chat feature on Zoom to see if there are any additional questions there. Is there any way to know if your ballot was thrown out?
Well, you can check the status of your ballot on michigan.gov/vote, and it will tell you where your ballot is right then. I don't know if the clerks would tell people. I don't know that answer if you would get a call or whatever, but you can check the status of your ballot.
I've never had mine rejected, so I don't know if there's like a rejected notice, but the Secretary of State website does track your ballot. So once you mail it, they'll know if you got it. And if there's a problem, if you like the signature is not on it, sometimes that they will contact you and let you know that you need to come back and take care of that. So.
And Manistee County is so small that most of our clerks know us or know about how they can help us if we were to go and talk to them in person. So I would not be afraid to follow up on that.
Okay. Checking Facebook one more time to see if there is any questions in the comment section. If you're watching now, you can ask questions in the comment section and we'll do our best to answer them. Okay. Checking the chat here on Zoom. See if there's any more questions. Okay,
Okay.
going, gone.
Well, okay, well, I hope this was really helpful to people then. And I want to thank the viewers for taking time out of your lives to become more informed about the proposals and voting information. I want to thank Mary Fairgree for her great participation tonight. And of course, much appreciation to Miriam Epskamp, without whom this would not have been possible. And now I'll turn it back to Miriam.
And I will just share our thank you screen, and you will see our website on there, lwvmanasteecounty.org. We are going to take the recording of this presentation. It will stay up on our Facebook page. We will upload it to our YouTube channel, or you can watch it on our website if you want to see it again. If you look in the chat, there is a link to handouts that also came with this meeting. And with that, we will stop the live stream. Thank you for joining us this night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks for coming.